Here is James. He is very shy and withdrawn, always helpful, but with little interest in other people. He has a need for order and structure and a passion for detail. Is he a librarian or a farmer? Every day we make hundreds of decisions immediately when we wake up. Should I hit the snooze button 5 times or maybe 10 times? Should I check the news and my email before I get out of the bed? What am I going to have for breakfast? Well, you don't have to think about breakfast if you hit that snooze button long enough. But anyway, as you can see, before you even get out of the bed, you have made many decisions. Most of these decisions are made without even really thinking about them because you have been doing them the same way every day for years. But not everything is done automatically, some of the decisions you make consciously. Should you invest in Apple or Tesla or sell everything that you own to buy cryptos? Whether you are investing, running a business or just simply living your normal life, you have to constantly make decisions. We all make these decisions, yet only a few of us know how our brains make the decisions. So back to James. What was your answer? Probably librarian. While the characteristics fit to a stereotypical librarian, there are statistically way more farmers than librarians in the world. So in fact, you would have a greater chance to meet a farmer with these characteristics than a librarian. Yet your brain still immediately thinks that James is a librarian. Welcome to the book summary of the book Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. In this summary, you are going to learn the different systems your brain has for making decisions and why those decisions are not always made like you thought they are. After this video, you should be able to make better decisions and help others to make decisions in your favor. Part number 1. 2 systems. We have 2 systems for making decisions. System 1 operates automatically and quickly, while System 2 allocates attention to the effortful mental activities that demand it, including complex computations. Some examples of System 1 in action are questions like, which one of these is further away? What is the answer to 2 plus 2? And putting your pants in the morning. These tasks don't require a significant amount of your attention, and you can usually do many of these at once. If I asked you what 2 plus 2 is while you are driving a car, you are able to answer it. So basically, System 1 could be summarized with one word, autopilot. And in fact, you can turn off System 1, you are always able to answer what is 2 plus 2 or read a word in a language that you understand. System 2, on the other hand, requires your attention. While there are many functions within System 2, all of those functions will need your attention, and if your attention is drawn away, the tasks are disrupted. Take a look at this picture. Can you tell me where's Waldo? While you are looking for Waldo, could you tell me what is 32 multiplied by 24 in the comments? As you probably noticed, you can't complete both of these tasks at the same time because in order to complete them, you have to give them your full attention. Let me ask you a couple of questions again. What is 1 plus 1? What is 1 plus 2? Now, what is 21 multiplied by 43? System 1 and System 2 are in a relationship to one another. When everything is going smoothly, System 1 is making suggestions for System 2, things like impressions, intentions, and feelings. But when System 1 runs into difficulty and does not know the answer to a problem, System 2 comes for help. As in the previous math questions, you probably could answer what is 1 plus 1 and 1 plus 2, but your System 1 does not know what is 21 multiplied by 43. But then System 2 comes to help your System 1 and you are able to answer that it is 903. Sometimes when we don't have enough information, System 1 jumps to conclusions. The author uses the following abbreviation for this. What you see is all there is. You know when you are making a big decision and you get a report from one consultant. With one consultant you don't have all the information available, yet you still make that big decision. This is because you made a decision based on what you see is all there is. Part number 2. Heuristics and Biases. Heuristics means a mental shortcut, meaning that you can use a specific rule of thumb strategies to shorten decision making and to constantly take action without stopping to think. In a telephone poll of 300 seniors, 60% support the president. What does this tell you? What if there were a telephone poll of 60 million seniors and 60% support the president? What does that tell you? In both cases, you are probably thinking that, the elderly support the president. But we can't get accurate information from small samples, even though our System 1 likes to do so. How much do you think Tesla stock will be in 6 months? At the moment, it is worth $1,137. Now, you are most likely trying to make an assumption what the price is going to be based on what it is at the moment, and this is exactly what the anchoring bias is. It occurs when people rely too much on pre-existing information or the first information they receive when they are making decisions. Any number you will see will have an anchoring effect on you. If I ask you how many % of seniors support the president, your guess would be around 60% because you have seen that number recently. If the previous example would have been different, your guess would be different. As you can see, heuristics are incompatible with logic, but we still use them to make large decisions. Because of this, you should mobilize your system 2 to prevent bad decisions made with the anchoring effect. Our system 1 makes all kinds of extreme predictions that are irrational because system 1 does not need any correct evidence to jump to conclusions. Part number 3. Overconfidence. Which one of these lines is longer? You might already know the answer for this test, but anyways, the lines are equally long. While the other one looks longer, it's just an illusion. But visual illusions aren't the only illusions, we also have others. The illusion of understanding. We try to make sense of what is happening in the world by looking for explanatory stories. But we often base those stories on the wrong information. For example, you might think that Tesla is one of the most profitable companies in the world because their stock price keeps going up. But in fact, Tesla has lost money every year until recently. You might also think that Google has become the most profitable company because of its chain of good decisions, but the truth is that luck also plays a huge part in their success. The author gives the following formula: success equals talent plus luck. Google was started by 2 graduate students, and within a few years it became one of the most valuable stocks. One fact about Google is that the founders of Google tried to sell it for less than $1 million after a year, but the buyer said the price was too high. Because of this, those 2 founders are now among the richest people on the planet instead of making less than $1 million. Could this have been predicted in advance? No, it couldn't, and this is what gives us an illusion of understanding that makes us feel better. We want to understand that Google succeeded because of skill and making great choices all the time, but we don't want to think that luck played a huge role in it. The illusion of validity. We want to believe that our abilities and nothing else will determine the final outcome. This can be seen in the stock market, for example. Every investor wants to believe that they can beat the market. The mutual funds, however, are run by highly experienced and hardworking professionals, yet still 2 out of 3 of the mutual funds underperform the overall market in any given year. This might be because the experts are trying to think outside the box in making their predictions when simplicity is better. To avoid these illusions, you should use different formulas to make decisions rather than relying on human intuition. For example, if you're hiring someone, select a few traits that are prerequisites for success in this position. Then, make a list of questions for each trait and think about how will you score it. Then you should hire the person that receives the final score, even if you liked someone else better. You are more likely to find the best candidate if you use a well-thought procedure instead of your intuition. Part number 4. Choices. In finance, there are 3 types of risk preferences: risk aversion, risk neutrality, and risk loving. What it basically means is that some people love taking risks while others do their best to avoid taking risks. Sometimes the choices we make are not very rational because we just want to avoid taking the risk. For example, which one would you prefer? Option A. Toss a coin. If you win, you will receive $100. If you lose, you won't receive anything. Option B. Get $45 for sure. Most of us would probably choose the option B and take the $45 to avoid the risk. But rationally, the option A would be better. There is a 50% chance of receiving $100 and a 50% chance of receiving $0, so on average you would get $50, which would be more than that $45. However, if you decide to take a risk and end up receiving nothing, it would hurt a lot more than how happy you would feel if you win that $100. Losses hurt more than gains, and our motives follow that. We might avoid setting high achieving goals because we don't want to experience the loss when we are not able to reach it. When we are making choices that go against our default behavior, we are more likely to regret those choices. The same goes the other way around. If we are making choices against our default behavior, we will feel happier than doing our typical behavior if we get the same outcome. However, we avoid making these choices that are against our default behavior because of a fear of regret. When we are making decisions, we tend to focus on the individual instance rather than the big picture. This is why we choose the $45 instead of tossing the coin. It seems a better idea at the moment. To avoid exaggerated caution induced by loss aversion, we should start to think more about the big picture and use our system 2 to make more rational choices. Part number 5. Two Selves. Here are Mary and Matt. They both went to the dentist to get their wisdom teeth removed. For Mary, the operation took 8 minutes, and for Matt, it took 24 minutes. Which patient suffered more? The general agreement would be that Matt had the worst time since he spent 3 times longer in the operation. But after the operation, the patients were asked to rate the total amount of pain they had experienced during the operation. For Mary, the peak end average was 7.5 and the end of the procedure was 7. For Matt, however, the peak end average is only 4.5 and the end of the procedure is only 1. So in the end, Mary retained a much worse memory of the episode than Matt, even though Matt was there 3 times longer. This shows us that we have two selves, experiencing self and remembering self. The experiencing self is the one that is enjoying the pleasure and feeling the pain moment to moment. The remembering self is the one that reflects past experiences and uses that to make decisions. While we like to think that we make our decisions at the moment with our best interest at heart, our decisions are actually highly influenced by our memories. If I ask you how much pleasure do you get from your car, you immediately have an answer in your mind. You know how much you like, or perhaps don't like your car. But if I asked you when do you get pleasure from your car, the answer might surprise you. The pleasure you get from your car is when you think about the car, which is probably not that often. Even when you are driving your car, you are not really thinking about the car, you think about other things while driving. This is called a focusing illusion. If you like your car, you are likely to exaggerate the pleasure you derive from cars, and because of this, you want to buy a new car. So before buying something, think about the real value it provides you. Those are the main points of the book, Thinking Fast and Slow. In short, we all have two systems for decision making. System 1 operates automatically, while System 2 requires attention. There are some heuristics and biases that we use to make decision making easier, but we should try to avoid to be able to make more rational choices. The illusion of understanding makes us feel better because we want to understand what is happening in the world. The illusion of validity strengthens our belief that skill matters the most and determines the final outcome. We make choices based on the individual instance rather than the big picture. Because of this, we might choose irrational things like $45 instead of tossing the coin for $100. We have two selves, experiencing self and remembering self. The other one is enjoying the pleasure and feeling the pain moment to moment, while the remembering self reflects past experiences when making decisions. Thank you for watching the book summary of the book, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. If you have any book recommendations, let me know in the comments. Leave a like and subscribe for weekly videos. Have a great day and I'll see you next week. Bye!